Okay, so picture this. I'm at my brother's rehearsal dinner, the one I'm actually paying for, and he points me to a bar stool. Yeah, a single bar stool, and says, "It's for real family only." I mean, $5,000 was just the start of this nightmare. And here's the thing, I didn't freak out. I just ate, smiled, and started thinking, this is gonna get interesting. You're not gonna believe what happens next. But trust me, it's worth sticking around for. It was one of those Tuesdays, the kind where you feel like the world is just stacking everything on your chest. I was 52 at the time, coughing like someone had poured gravel into my lungs, trying to nurse this stubborn bronchial infection with endless cups of hot tea and honey. Every breath was sharp, jagged, like inhaling broken glass. And just when I thought I could maybe, sit quietly and survive the day, my phone buzzed. It was Colin, my little brother. The photo popped up first. Him, bright-eyed, smiling, grinning like the sun had been bottled and shipped just for him. I braced myself. "Hi," he said, and immediately my ears almost hurt. That voice too loud, too cheerful, that tone he always used when he wanted something, and I mean really wanted it. I could hear it even through my raspy coughs. "Are you busy? Are you dying?" "Both." I coughed again, the kind of rattling that makes the screen blur for a second. "What's wrong?" "Colin," I asked, already knowing I wasn't going to like the answer. "Nothing's wrong, God. You always assume that. Can't a guy just call his favorite sister to say hi? His favorite sister." "Yeah, that would be me. The one constantly juggling his life. Because, well, someone had to." "You need money," I said, flat. "No," he said, a little offended, and I could practically hear the brain gears spinning, trying to dance around the truth. "Well, not money exactly. It's, it's about the wedding." I pinched the bridge of my nose. Of course it was about the wedding. That was their life now, Serafina and him. I exhaled slowly, the cough rattling a little as it escaped. "The rehearsal dinner," I asked, already guessing where this was going. "Yes, the restaurant. They want a deposit, and, we just don't have it." I closed my eyes, leaning back in my chair. This was classic Colin. He was the dreamer, I was the anchor. I had built a life on prudence and planning, on numbers that didn't lie. He, on the other hand, floated through life, hands out, ideas in his head, and, well, mostly on my support ever since Dad died. I'd stepped in, paid for his art school, co-signed his first apartment, quietly covered his car insurance for years. I loved him. But let's be real, he was 34 and still kind of a sinkhole. "How much?" "Colin?" I asked, my chest aching as I tried not to cough through my words. $5,000, he said, rushing the number out, like saying it fast made it smaller. "It's for the private room at El Embrasi. Serafina says it's the only place with the right aesthetic." I choked a little on my tea. El Embrasi, 3-month wait list. The kind of place that would make a wedding planner's heart sing. "Wait, you expect me to cover this?" I asked, the internal struggle already heating up. My brain was shouting yes, no, maybe, and the infection wasn't helping. "Well, Serafina knows a guy, so we're in," he said, too casual, too hopeful. "You just need to call and put your card down. Just a deposit. We'll, pay you back after the wedding from the gift money." "Gift money, huh." I laughed, that sort of a rasping, painful laugh. I knew with absolute certainty I would never see a penny of that gift money. But he was my brother, and he was getting married. So, fine. I wheezed through another cough. "I'll call them. But Colin, this is it. After this, you two are on your own. I'm not funding the honeymoon, or the house down payment, or..." I trailed off. My chest ached, my lungs burning with every word. Of course. We wouldn't dream of it," he chirped, relief washing over his voice. "You're the best, Susan. We'll see you there." Right. 7 o'clock Friday, I exhaled, drained. I wouldn't miss it. I said, my voice flat, hung up. And then the cough hit me again. 10 minutes of hacking until I saw spots in front of my eyes. The universe was apparently sending a warning I chose to ignore. And then memories started flooding in. You know Colin at 8, me at 18, trying to hold it together while mom disappeared into grief, teaching him to ride a bike, sitting through his painfully awful high school plays, my first real paycheck after college going to a new computer for him, 3 failed design startups I quietly funded, his car insurance, his rent, his emergencies, all covered. No lectures, no grudges, just support, love, and frustration. Yes, but mostly duty. It was exhausting. Sure, but it felt like the only thing I could do. And yet, here I was, sick as a dog, 52 years old, staring down a $5,000 rehearsal dinner request, and the old mix of emotions, love, frustration, protectiveness just warred in my chest. I knew I was being played, and I knew it. But I also knew I couldn't just say no, couldn't leave him high and dry. That was our story. Always had been, always would be. I pinched my nose again, took a deep, careful sip of hot tea, and muttered, almost to myself, fine, Colin, I'll make the call. But remember, after this, it's on you. His relief was palpable through the phone, a burst of naive happiness that made me cough again, painfully. But I forced a small smile. He really did think I was just the generous sister, the one who would always bail him out, the safety net for his dreams. And in many ways, I had been, always had been. I could hear him chatter about the plans, about Serafina, about the aesthetic, my brain half listening while I felt my lungs burn and my mind spiral through decades of care and sacrifice. It was exhausting, and yet I would do it. I had to. But the thought kept gnawing at me. This wasn't just about the money, it was about control, about boundaries, about finally realizing that maybe, just maybe, I needed to let him stand on his own, even if he didn't know it yet. And I could feel that tension, that electric mix of irritation, love, and impending confrontation coursing in my veins. This wasn't going to be simple. It never was with Colin. Friday night, I traded my bathrobe for something that felt almost human, a silk blouse, tailored blazer, and a mountain of cold medicine I was carrying like a badge of courage. My body felt fragile, like a porcelain doll that someone had left out in the sun too long. Fever, aches, chills. I could barely walk, but I had to be there. I told the manager, someone I knew from work, a client really, that I'd handle the bill myself. No Serafina connections, no shortcuts, just me. Walking into the storm. The restaurant itself was stunning. Low lights, dark wood, a hush of sophistication in every corner. I followed the hostess, trying to keep my balance and my dignity. But even before reaching the private room, I could see it. The main table, long gleaming oak, set for 20, Colin and Serafina at the head, holding hands like the sun rose just for them. Serafina in a white dress that could have been a wedding gown, definitely dressy, definitely the centerpiece. And then there was Martha, her mother, a woman who looked like she had been carved from ice, every gesture precise, every simile tightly measured. Colin saw me first. His face lit up for a fraction of a second. Then Serafina whispered something in his ear, and that spark vanished. His smile tightened. He got up, intercepting me before I could even reach the table. "Susan, you made it," he said, arms outstretched for a hug I could barely acknowledge without coughing. It was awkward. One-armed, fearful, like he was afraid my germs might actually leap onto him. I said I would. I rasped, my throat raw, not feeling great, but I'm here. The room looks lovely. Yeah, it's great, he muttered, shifting, avoiding my gaze. And then Oh, wait, the change of plans. He gestured vaguely at the table. Serafina's family. There's more of them than we thought. Her cousins, out of state. Martha wanted to keep families together. I scanned the table, feeling a chill sink straight to my bones. Serafina, Martha, a dozen faces I didn't know. No spot for me. I blinked. I don't see anywhere to sit. Colin. He cringed, pointing to a single bar stool by the service station. Tall, awkward, wobbling slightly. You can sit there, he whispered. We've got real family at the main table. Wait, what? My lungs seized, my chest tight. What did you just say? The chatter, the clinking glasses, the music, it all dulled into a dull roar around me. This was it. The moment I'd known was coming, but had hoped wouldn't. It's her night. Colin pleaded, gesturing towards Serafina like I hadn't noticed. We just need to keep her mom happy. It's for family. You get that, right? Her word. Real family. And I, the sister who had raised him, the one who paid for every ridiculous art school tuition, car insurance, 3 failed startups, rent I was not family, just a guest, a wallet, and apparently a punching bag. I stared at the bar stool, then back at him. My mind went blank for a second. Shock, betrayal, the kind that cuts through fever and coughs like a scalpel. The dry, hacking cough that had been simmering finally broke free, echoing in the sudden silence of the room. Fever gone, exhaustion gone, pain irrelevant. Clarity took its place. Cold, crystalline clarity. I didn't make a scene. I didn't yell. I didn't cry. They were expecting it. Serafina's smug, triumphant glint said it all. She wanted drama. She wanted me to be the jealous, overbearing sister, the villain in her story. But here's the thing, they underestimated me. I simply nodded, slowly, deliberate, calculated. I see, I said, voice steady despite the rasp. You're right. It's her night. Don't worry about me. Colin's shoulders slumped. Relief, almost palpable. Oh, thank God. I knew you'd understand. You're the best. I'll have them send a drink over. He patted my arm, dismissive, flimsy, and then he retreated to the table, swallowed up by his so-called real family. I walked to the bar stool, awful, wobbly, uncomfortable. My view, the service station, the swinging kitchen doors, the perfect place for a humiliation display. I was an afterthought, an ATM machine with a cough. A young waiter approached, face carefully neutral, almost pitying. Ma'am, can I get you something, he asked. Yes, I said, moving the stool slightly to settle myself. A bottle of San Pellegrino, hot water with lemon and honey, and a menu. A menu. Right. I was a guest. Sort of. He scurried off, and I looked around, the whole party. Serafina at the center, voice cutting through the air, all sharp confidence and celebration. Her mother, predatory, composed, counting every movement like a chess game. They weren't just eating, they were ransacking, ordering expensive bottles of Premier Cru Chablis I recognized from client dinners, $250 a pop. Their thrill. Free ride, gilded. Mine, a steaming cup of tea and a bar stool. Then that familiar click happened. You know, the one, the shift from pure emotion to analysis, from victim to observer. I was no longer a sister. I was an auditor, watching, cataloging, mentally calculating, waiting for the slip-up. My appetizer arrived, a simple Caesar salad. I ate while tuning into every conversation at the table. The room was loud, emboldened by wine and privilege, but I caught every word. Serafina bragging about past mistakes, about control, about weeding out toxic influences. Toxic influences. That was me. My stomach churned, my mind sharpened, I took a bite of my salad, then my main course, a modest salmon, the main table, fourth course, lobster tails, tomahawk steaks, truffle-infused everything, lottery winners. Colin, the poor guy, kept glancing at me, brow furrowed, but Serafina held his hand, whispered, and he returned, caught in her orbit. And then it hit me. Martha, leaning close, speaking to Serafina's father about a house, co-signing, new construction. Me. They weren't just taking my money for one night. They planned the long game. Bleed me dry emotionally, legally, financially, and all while painting me as the villain. I sat up straighter. Fever and aches gone, replaced by ice-cold focus. They thought I was weak, naive, generous to a fault. But they had forgotten who I was, a damn good analyst, and I was already analyzing my way out. This wasn't just about Colin. This was about setting boundaries, protecting my life, my money, my sanity, and I had no intention of playing the fool. Perched on that wobbly bar stool, I had the perfect vantage point. It was like watching a play, except I'd unwillingly bought all the tickets. Serafina at the head, wine glass raised, posture immaculate, voice cutting through the chatter like a blade. Martha, icy and precise, every gesture calculated, eyes scanning the room, lips tight, approving each little victory as it unfolded. And Colin, poor Colin, he shifted constantly, caught in a swirl of discomfort, glancing at me now and then with that helpless, half-guilty expression. I could practically see him shrinking, fading, trying to obey Serafina's subtle nudges, her whispered instructions. The table was a whirlwind of indulgence, lobster tails, tomahawk steaks, truffle everything, bottles of Chablis flowing freely, their laughter loud, almost theatrical, each course, each toast, a small act of dominance, and I, sitting high and awkward, was cataloging every detail, their spending, their gestures, the sly way Serafina guided Colin's hand or whispered into his ear, the deliberate positioning of guests, the way Martha nodded at each comment, each observation designed to reinforce her daughter's control. Every movement had meaning, every glance a tactic. And oh, the arrogance, it was palpable. They believed I was just a sickly, generous woman, too weak to interfere, too polite to object. They didn't see me at all. I watched Serafina raise her glass to toast. To family, she said, beaming, to those who show up, who support us, and know their place. She clinked glasses with Martha, eyes locked in mutual satisfaction. Colin clapped along, flushed, obedient, and I lifted my cup of hot water with lemon and honey, just enough for a toast of my own. My body was fragile, but my mind was sharp. The fever, the aches, they'd vanished, replaced by an icy clarity. My lungs still rattled occasionally, but I didn't care. I was no longer a victim in their little show. I was an observer, a strategist. As I sipped, I began to analyze. Every word Serafina spoke, every smirk, every calculated compliment was designed to assert control. She wasn't just showing off her beauty or event planning skills. She was staking a claim Colin belonged to her. And she intended to make sure everyone, including me, understood that. And Martha, oh Martha, that icy matriarch, nodding, approving, reinforcing every one of Serafina's moves, the way she leaned close to her husband, whispering about property, loans, and my supposed role as a co-signer. It was all part of a larger deliberate pattern. I cataloged it all in my mind, the family dynamic, the money, the manipulation, the way my brother was being subtly corralled into compliance, Colin, He looked like a ghost of the brother I'd known, his jaw tight, eyes darting, trying to navigate a sea of family and in-laws he barely controlled. He smiled when he thought he should, nodded when he was prompted, but the discomfort was written on his face. I watched him lean toward Serafina for a whispered instruction, then glance at me like he needed a lifeline. And here's the thing, I didn't feel the old protective instinct flare. Not yet. Not in this moment. I was cataloging behavior, intentions, consequences. I was mentally plotting, quietly, calmly. I wasn't the sister on the bar stool anymore. I was an auditor, a tactician, watching a flawed investment unfold in real time. The drinks kept coming, another bottle of Chablis, laughter, toasts, a bit of boasting about past achievements and future plans. Each gesture, each word, reinforcing a hierarchy I wasn't part of. The sheer extravagance was shocking. Every detail, from the truffle oil to the aged scotch, screamed entitlement. And the funniest, or perhaps most pathetic part, they thought all of it was mine to subsidize, that I would sit quietly, nodding, and silently pay for their entire extravaganza. They had mistaken silence for submission, generosity for gullibility. But here's the shift. I wasn't feeling hurt anymore. I wasn't feeling sick or humiliated. I was seeing clearly, with cold precision, the strategy behind every act, every word, and I was formulating a plan. The conversation at the main table continued. Serafina's voice was smooth, practiced, laying out instructions and expectations for Colin, with Martha reinforcing every point. Words like cosign, newlywed fund, construction loan floated across the room. My stomach tightened. They weren't just having dinner, they were auditioning me, testing the waters for a long-term claim on my resources. And yet, the calm that spread through me was almost intoxicating. The victim I'd felt myself to be just an hour ago had dissolved. In its place was clarity, analysis, strategic patience. I was mentally noting weak points, timing, likely reactions. They were overconfident. They assumed I was distracted by illness or decency. They were wrong. I focused on the small details. Serafina's subtle manipulations, touching Colin's hand, leaning into him, whispering instructions that he obeyed without question. Martha's approving nods and carefully timed gestures. The way they spent money they thought wasn't theirs to spend. I cataloged it like a financial analyst reviewing a company's reckless ledger. Every order, every laugh, every glance was a data point. I wasn't just seeing them, I was reading them, understanding their strategy, their dependency, their greed. They were planning to exploit me, but they had forgotten one thing. I knew how to read a balance sheet, how to assess risk, and how to dismantle poor investments. This dinner. It was a test, and I was already ahead. I sipped my water again. The warmth was comforting, but more than that, it gave me time to think, to observe, to absorb. I didn't need to react yet. The table was oblivious to the quiet shift happening on the bar stool. I was no longer the sick sister being highlined. I was the analyst, the strategist, the observer, and I began to form the blueprint of my next move. Each detail mattered: the sequence of orders, the timing of toasts, the way Colin flinched at every hint of financial discussion. I was quietly, methodically understanding the scope of their plan. They thought they were pulling one over on me. They thought they were in control. And here's the weird part. I wasn't angry. Not yet. Not in the chaotic, fevered way I might have been earlier. Instead, I was calm, chill, ice in my veins. Every word, every action at that table was feeding my understanding. They were manipulative, overconfident, and blind to my capacity to analyze and act. I was learning, cataloging, and preparing. Every toast, every dish, every whispered instruction became a piece of data. Every glance Colin gave me was a reminder of the human stakes, but also of the leverage I now held in my hands. This wasn't about being cruel, it was about precision, about strategy, about turning a chaotic, humiliating moment into a controlled, calculated response. Sitting there, elevated on that bar stool, I realized I had time. Enough time to make sense of the chaos. My phone was tucked under the table, screen dim, pretending to check emails, but really, I was opening a private browser tab, the kind you use when you don't want anyone hovering over your shoulder. I started with Serafina. Just a quick search, nothing too obvious, but then the breadcrumbs started piling up. Addresses, rental history, business registrations. At first, it seemed mundane. Routine background checks, right? But then things got weird. Her event planning business from 3 years ago had been dissolved. Just like that. No active company, no assets, nothing. And there were reviews. Furious brides, angry, scathing, deposits taken, weddings ruined. She'd vanished. She was a ghost in the business world. I paused, fingers hovering over the screen. Wait, this wasn't just incompetence. This was deliberate fraud. She'd taken deposits, promised services, and disappeared multiple times. Small claims judgments, unpaid. Each case popping up like a warning flare. My heart skipped, then steadied. This was serious. Not just a family drama, not just a hurt sibling or a bad partner. This was intentional. And it was all converging on me. Then I looked at Martha. I had to. The woman had a cold precision. And I knew there was more behind the carefully poised smiles. Bankruptcy 7 years ago, a heavily mortgaged condo, tiny pension, claims of real estate investments that were thin as tissue paper. Every indicator pointed to the same conclusion. They weren't just reckless, they were desperate. They needed money. They needed a safety net. And I was it. Suddenly, the dots connected. The whispers of co-signing, the house in Bellevue, the newlywed fund. They weren't casual family planning. They were calculations, a plan. And my brother, he was too blinded by loyalty, too used to my support to Wyatt. And in that moment, a strange mix of disbelief and icy clarity settled over me. I leaned slightly forward, sipping my lemon honey water, letting the heat calm my pulse, letting the room's chatter fade into a muted buzz. My mind was scanning every piece of data I had gathered, mapping it to their every movement at the table. Serafina, smiling, sipping wine, brushing back her hair. The gestures were deliberate. The control meticulous. Martha, nodding, approving, surveying the table like a general reviewing the field. And Colin, moving like a puppet caught between two strings, unsure of which hand to follow. I realized the sophistication of the manipulation. Not sloppy, not accidental, calculated. And I couldn't help it, there was a thrill in the analysis, a dark, disciplined satisfaction in seeing the patterns emerge. I continued scrolling, digging into court records, small claims filings, all publicly accessible but hidden in plain sight. 3 judgments against Serafina in the last 2 years alone, all for non-performance of services. Deposits vanished, the lawsuits unresolved, every case telling the same story, take, vanish, avoid responsibility. And the best or worst part, Colin's design fingerprints were everywhere. His signature style, the brochures, the logos. He'd been unknowingly contributing to these schemes, or maybe knowingly. A pang of confusion hit me, and then I pushed it aside. There was no room for doubt in this assessment. Intent was clear, pattern confirmed, strategy apparent. I was sitting on the perfect storm of deception. Martha's history was equally revealing. Bankruptcy 7 years prior, touted as a real estate portfolio, but the reality was a mortgaged condo, a rapidly dwindling pension, and no viable assets. Every brag, every mention of investments. Now read through the lens of desperation. They weren't just using my brother, they were grasping for the only lifeline they could find. And they expected me to fund it. They expected me to cover it all, quietly, politely, without objection. But here's the thing, they had misjudged me entirely. I wasn't just sick and isolated on a bar stool. I was observing, analyzing, preparing. Each discovery of fraud, of misrepresentation, added fuel to a mental fire, sharp and controlled, anger tempered by strategy. I leaned back slightly, eyes scanning the table again. The laughter, the toasts, the gestures all still ongoing. Serafina's effortless charm, her controlled smile, the casual sway of authority. But now, every move had a new meaning. Every nod from Martha, every glance at Colin, every sip of expensive wine, it was all part of a blueprint. And I could see it, I understood it. They were trying to draw me in, to lure me into complicity, to make me the quiet accomplice in their plan. And they had underestimated the analyst in me, the person who could see through layers of pretense and financial trickery, who could read patterns, who could calculate risk and consequence in real time. My fingers hovered over the keyboard as I mapped their histories to their present behavior. Serafina, dissolved company, multiple small claims, unpaid judgments, repeated failures masked as expertise. Martha, bankrupt, claimed assets she didn't have, creating a facade of authority and wealth. And here they were, orchestrating a gala, a wedding rehearsal, a financial trap disguised as a family celebration. The audacity was staggering, and yet I couldn't help but admire the precision. Not morally, not ethically, but as a strategist, this was execution of a plan. Cold, deliberate, and aimed squarely at me. I felt a subtle shift in my emotions. The hurt, the humiliation I'd felt moments ago began to harden into something more focused, more precise. Anger, yes, but not uncontrolled. Calculation, certainly. I began to anticipate their next moves, to consider contingencies. If they tried to pull the cosign maneuver, if they tried to press the newlywed fund, if they attempted to manipulate Colin further, they would all fail. Because I now had the full landscape. I could see every weakness, every dependency, every point of leverage they thought they controlled, and I had my own leverage. Quiet, unassailable, and powerful. A small smirk tugged at the corner of my mouth as I realized how blind they had been. They thought the outcast, the sickly sister at the bar, the generous fool, would be oblivious to their history, to their desperation, to their pattern of deceit. But I wasn't oblivious. Not anymore. Every data point I uncovered, every judgment, every bankruptcy filing, every fraudulent scheme was a step in a mental map that now guided my decisions. And it was thrilling in a dark, righteous way. Not gloating well, maybe a little, but controlled, deliberate, and incredibly satisfying. I understood their plan. I understood their intent. And most importantly, I understood how to dismantle it without anyone noticing until the very last moment. I took another sip of the hot water, letting the steam rise and mask my racing thoughts. I felt the shift completely. I wasn't a victim. I wasn't just a sister sidelined on a bar stool. I was an auditor, a strategist, and the analyst in me was in full command. The room, the laughter, the extravagant orders, they were all part of a scenario I now controlled. Mentally, at least. The audacity of Serafina, the precision of Martha, the weakness of Colin, all cataloged, all assessed, all ready for the right moment. And oh, the timing would be perfect. I smiled faintly, letting the thrill of discovery mingle with the simmering anger. This wasn't just family drama. This wasn't a petty quarrel or an annoying rehearsal dinner mishap. This was fraud. Pure, calculated, intentional fraud. And I was ready to respond. I eased onto the bar stool, feeling it wobble just slightly beneath me, and took a moment to steady myself. My chest still ached. My body felt like it had been through a storm. But I focused on the task at hand. I pulled my wallet out, carefully removed my card, and handed it to the young waiter. Caesar salad, grilled salmon, sparkling water, just my meal. Nothing extravagant, nothing that would draw attention. I tipped him generously, enough to acknowledge the poor kid caught in the middle of what was about to unfold, and slid the card back into my wallet. Calm, controlled, every move deliberate, every action precise. I let myself exhale softly, leaning back slightly as I surveyed the main table. Serafina sat at the head, radiant and composed, her laugh cutting across the room, perfectly pitched to command attention. Martha's eyes flicked across the table like a hawk, sharp, calculating, every expression measured. And Colin, well, he looked like a man trying to find his footing on shifting ice, uneasy, caught between these two forces and the reality he was unprepared to manage. I sipped my hot water, steam curling around my face, letting the warmth steady me. This was it, the moment I had been preparing for, mentally and strategically. The plan was simple: cover only my own meal. Let the rest, the full extent of their indulgences, their extravagances, fall squarely on them. The psychological payoff would be instantaneous, and every reaction, every desperate attempt to redirect blame would be visible, unfiltered. I let the tension build silently, like a string stretched taut. My phone lay on the table. I pretended to check emails, glancing at the screen while sending a discreet message to Anton, the restaurant manager Anton. This is Susan. I'm in the reserved room. I'm not feeling well and need to leave, but the party at my table believes I'm covering the full cost. I am not. Please ensure my personal meal is billed to me and the rest to the head of the table. Colin and Serafina, send. Almost immediately. His reply confirmed he understood, would handle it discreetly, and personally. Perfect. Every contingency covered, I leaned back again, keeping my posture relaxed, letting my presence go almost unnoticed while the main table continued in their oblivious indulgence. Serafina gestured, glass in hand, her laughter precise, confident. Martha's smile remained calculated, though I could detect the faintest twitch of uncertainty, as if she sensed a shift she couldn't yet identify. Colin. He kept glancing toward me, as if realizing the dynamics had changed. But too late. I allowed myself a small, almost imperceptible smile. This was going exactly as planned. The waiter returned, this time placing a thick black folio on the table near me. Discreetly, my personal check. I signed it quickly, added a tip for the young man, and tucked my wallet back into my bag. My card, not the corporate or family card. That distinction mattered. It was symbolic as much as practical, every gesture intentional, signaling a clear boundary. I wasn't just paying a bill, I was setting terms. Quietly, but unmistakably, I let my eyes roam over the main table, cataloging everything with the clarity of an analyst in the heat of a major investigation. Every bottle of wine, every expensive scotch, every extravagant dish was noted and logged mentally. Serafina was confident, her posture perfect, yet I could see subtle hints of imbalance, tiny cracks in her control. Imperceptible to anyone else but me. Martha's attention flicked between the food and her daughter's gestures, noting details and calculating outcomes. And Colin, he was shifting in his seat, the faintest tension in his shoulders betraying his awareness that something had changed, that he was no longer in a safe zone. I sipped my water again, letting the steam rise. creating a small shield around me. Then Anton approached, this time deliberately, with measured steps, holding the folio of the full table's charges. He placed it directly in front of Colin, eyes flicking to mine for confirmation. I nodded ever so slightly. The total every scotch, every caviar top dish, every lobster tail, every extravagant indulgence, they were now fully accountable for it. Over $10,000, and mine, $84.50. Simple, clean, controlled. The contrast alone was a quiet, powerful statement. I waited, letting the tension stretch. The table was preoccupied with conversation, laughter, and wine. Serafina was mid-story, Martha nodding approvingly, Colin glancing at me in a mix of worry and realization. The first moment of panic had yet to hit. I let the suspense build, every second deliberate, letting the inevitability of their situation seep into the room. Then I stood, smoothly, calmly, no drama, no shouting, just a deliberate, measured rise from the bar stool. The chatter began to quiet as heads turned. The woman they had assumed powerless, sick, sidelined, was now present, alert, and fully in control. The room felt it. Serafina's confident smile faltered, Martha's composed facade twitched slightly, and Colin, he froze, realizing, too late, that the safety net he relied on so blindly was now executing the rules. Colin tried, nervously, to intervene. Susan, you're not feeling well, right? His voice was tight, hesitant, unsteady. I looked past him, directly at Serafina, and said, with clarity and calm, actually, I'm feeling much better. No rasp, no cough, just crisp, unwavering voice. The tension hit them. The panic was subtle but unmistakable. The room shifted. Anton, professional as ever, gestured to the folio in front of Colin. This is yours, he said, calm but ironclad. The balance for the main table. Every word a weight, every syllable deliberate. The responsibility now fully theirs. Serafina's eyes went wide, her composure cracking as she scanned the total. Martha's practiced calm faltered, subtle but telling. Colin's hands shook, his face draining color, realizing the enormity of what he had agreed to, the mess he had walked into. I stepped forward, slow, deliberate, exuding calm confidence. No shouting, no dramatics, just presence, a silent authority. Heads turned, eyes locked on me. The sickly sister at the bar, the one they assumed powerless, was now the person in charge of the narrative. The suspense thickened, palpable. Every gasped intake, every nervous glance, every whispered negotiation attempt played out in perfect alignment with the plan. My hot water in hand, my simple meal consumed, I became the eye in a storm of their unraveling. Serafina tried to negotiate, voice trembling, eyes darting to Anton, then back to me. Wait, this can't be right, she stammered, panic creeping in. Martha leaned forward, voice low, urgent, trying to salvage control, but the foundation had shifted. Their assumptions, that I would quietly absorb the cost, crumbled like fragile porcelain. Colin's feeble attempts to intervene were ignored. The room itself made their responsibility clear. They were trapped by the consequences of their own choices. I stayed calm, watching, cool, collected. The tension of the room, now a palpable thing. My every move, every sip of hot water, every glance, reinforced my position. I wasn't a participant in panic. I was the orchestrator, the calm, strategic observer, letting the consequences land perfectly. The suspense, the tension, the dawning realization in their faces, it was all exactly as it should be. They scrambled, hands fumbling for wallets, murmurs growing, expressions panicked. Serafina's confidence evaporated, replaced by sheer desperation. Martha's controlled demeanor cracked in subtle, telling ways. Colin's shoulders slumped, the helplessness settling in as he realized I was no longer the default savior, no longer the bank, the shield, the buffer. The total was theirs, the consequences immediate. And I watched, satisfied, calm, almost amused by the precision and effectiveness of what had unfolded. Every attempt to redirect, to plead, to cajole, only highlighted the success of my strategy. Each frantic whisper, each trembling hand, each fleeting glance of panic confirmed the lesson: generosity without boundaries invites exploitation, and assumptions of power without accountability can crumble spectacularly. I let the moment breathe, letting them feel the weight of their own choices, the inevitability of the numbers on that folio, and I stayed calm, the center of composure amidst the storm I had orchestrated, the satisfaction deep and quiet, almost intoxicating. After the chaos of the rehearsal dinner, the world didn't exactly settle immediately. Colin, my poor, spineless little brother, ended up at the police station. I mean, he'd been pulled into something way over his head, and his parents, well, Martha and Frank, were in holding, and I sat back, watching the storm I'd orchestrated in its aftermath. It was surreal, honestly. All those months of manipulation, all the lies and little schemes, finally hitting a hard wall. I remember feeling a strange mix of exhaustion and, honestly, relief. Because for once, I wasn't the one cleaning up the mess. And, well, maybe it was time Colin finally learned what that felt like. I remember standing on the sidewalk outside the police station, the cold night air crisp against my cheeks. The street lamps cast that harsh yellow glow, stretching shadows across the empty pavement. Colin was there, in his expensive suit, looking smaller than I'd ever seen him. And he was sobbing, full-on, fat tears rolling down his cheeks, hands flailing slightly as he tried to explain himself, or maybe just to beg for forgiveness. "Susie, please, I'm so sorry," he cried, wrapping his arms around me like I was 8 years old again. It was pitiful, heart-wrenching even, but I didn't hug him back. I just stood there, hands at my sides, letting him get it out. "Are you sorry, Colin, or are you just sorry you got caught?" I asked, my voice calm, almost clinical. I wanted him to feel the full weight of responsibility for once, and he tried. He really did. "I'm sorry," he said again, voice cracking, face a mess of tears and snot. Then the story tumbled out, how Serafina and Martha had manipulated him, used his insecurities, convinced him he had to cut me out to be a man. He flinched as I looked at him. He admitted that Serafina had made him believe that if he didn't, she wouldn't marry him. He couldn't even form the words to justify it. And I just listened. And for once, I let him sit with the consequences. I didn't rescue him. I didn't bail him out. I let him experience the cold reality of his choices. It was hard and a little painful, but necessary. I had carried him for too long. He had to stand on his own, even if it hurt to watch. I turned and started walking away. The cab I'd hailed waiting for me. He scrambled after me, desperation in his eyes. "Can I come home with you?" he asked. My first instinct was, wow, this is exactly what I mean about him never being prepared for adult responsibility. Home, my apartment. For one night, he had no plan, no sense of direction, nothing. And yet, I paused, looked at him under the harsh streetlight, and said calmly, "You are 34 years old. Colin, you are a grown man. You made your choice. You wanted your real family. But she left me. And you heard me. She left me with the bill. Yes, she did. And now you have to figure it out." I got into the cab, leaving him behind. The night air was cold and clean, and for the first time in decades, I felt unshackled. Watching him in the rearview mirror, standing alone in his expensive suit, something shifted. He was truly, completely on his own. And, you know, there's a strange clarity in that. It's like a hard reset. You don't know if they'll survive it or learn or crumble, but it's the only way they will ever grow. And grow he did, eventually. Not overnight, not easily. But in the weeks that followed, I didn't hear from him. No frantic texts, no calls, just silence. And I have to admit, it was peaceful, like almost restorative. I spent those weeks focused on myself, on work, on living my life without cleaning up after him. I landed a huge new account, went to the gym, read 3 books, even managed to sleep through the night without the usual nagging anxiety of what if Colin calls needing something. The world felt lighter, like I'd been holding invisible weights for decades, and now they were gone. Then, 1 month later, my receptionist buzzed me. "Miss Susan, there's a Mr. Colin here. He doesn't have an appointment." I raised an eyebrow, typing away at my computer without missing a beat. "Send him in," I said, dryly. And there he was, standing awkwardly in the doorway. Gone was the tailored, expensive suit. He'd lost weight. His hair was messy, simple jeans, a flannel shirt, and somehow his eyes were clear, honest, vulnerable, but clear. He greeted me quietly. Hi, I didn't get up, didn't offer a chair. I just looked at him, assessing, and he swallowed hard, trying to find words. "Hi, Colin. What can I do for you?" I asked, casual, but watchful. And then he started telling me, carefully, almost shyly, about the life he'd started to build. He'd gotten a real job, working at a local coffee shop as a barista. Humbling. Yes, he admitted it himself. But it was real work, responsible work, work that forced him to stand on his own. He'd joined a program, a 12-step program, something about love addiction and codependency. He was taking responsibility for his life in ways he never had before. He also told me he was paying back the restaurant. He'd worked out a plan with Anton and the manager to pay off the $5,481 in full. He worked as a barista from 6 in the morning to 2 in the afternoon, then as a busboy at Lammercy from 5 to midnight, exhausting, grueling, but necessary. And he said it like he was proud, like it was a victory to finally face consequences instead of relying on someone else to cover for him. I finally looked up from my computer and saw the truth in his face. Exhaustion. Yes, but also integrity. He wasn't perfect. He still had a lot to learn. But he was trying. Really trying. And I had to admit, it was impressive. Watching him recount it, seeing the calluses on his hands, the weight of responsibility finally sinking in, it was satisfying in a quiet, almost tender way. He was finally standing on his own. Then he walked forward, holding a small crumpled envelope. "I wanted to give you this," he said, voice thick, inside. "A cashier's check, $84.50, for my salmon and salad." He said it wasn't enough, didn't fix anything, but it was a start. And it was perfect. The gesture mattered more than the amount. This was the first real acknowledgement of accountability I'd seen from him. He looked at me, eyes full of a remorse so deep it almost felt infinite. I smiled slightly, and I told him, gently but firmly, that he didn't owe me for the salmon. He looked confused. "But you do," I added, teasing lightly. "Owe me about a decade's worth of car insurance premiums. But hey, we can set up a payment plan for that." And then, just like that, a slow smile spread across his face. A real one, not the fake, bright one he used when he wanted something. a true, genuine smile. And I realized in that moment the dynamic between us had changed. He wasn't my burden anymore, and I wasn't his bank. We were equal, two siblings navigating life together without one carrying the other. I gestured to the chair opposite me. "Sit down, little brother," I said, voice softer now, lighter. "Tell me all about the 12 steps. I want to hear it from you." And he did. He sat, and for the first time in decades, it felt normal, comfortable, relaxed. There was laughter, reflection, even some teasing, and yeah, a little pride. But mostly, there was relief. Relief that he had finally learned, finally grown, finally understood that life wasn't a free ride, and that responsibility, accountability, and hard work were non-negotiable. We talked for hours, just like siblings, and I realized something vital. Real family isn't about covering bills or rescuing someone from consequences. It's about standing side by side, even when mistakes happen, even when lessons are harsh. It's about supporting growth, not dependency. Colin had finally taken that step, and I could let go of decades of carrying him, finally letting him be the man he needed to become, not the boy he wanted to rely on me to save. And in that light, the world felt lighter. The city outside my office sparkled in the night, a sea of possibilities. And I realized I could breathe again. For the first time, I didn't have to micromanage someone else's life. Colin had made his mistakes, faced his consequences, and now, at last, we could just be siblings, real family, not transactional, not fraught with tension, but real, equal, and grounded. And yeah, it felt amazing. Wow, what a ride, right? This story really makes you think about family, boundaries, and knowing when to step back and let people face the consequences of their choices. Standing up for yourself isn't easy, and supporting others doesn't mean sacrificing your own well-being. Take a second. How do you handle these situations in your own life? Do you ever find yourself overextending for family? If this story hit home, maybe give it a like. And yeah, consider subscribing for more stories like this.